Go for it.
When I was a kid, I used to play a game with my siblings where we would go around and we would say what superpower we wanted. And I remember saying that I wanted to be able to control what people thought about me. So whether they thought I was nice or funny or cool. Now, superpowers are far and few between in our world. But what I learned when I started studying sociolinguistics, which is the study of language in relation to social factors, is that I could have my superpower and I didn't need to fall into a vat of toxic waste to do it. What I'm talking about is language and perception. What if I told you that you could walk into a job interview and make sure that interviewer thought you were serious and responsible? Or what if I told you that when you meet new people, you can make sure that they like you? These are things that we can do through our language choices, which is something we study in sociolinguistics. Basically what happens is that humans make judgments based on language, and we can alter our language choices in order to control what judgments people make about us. Making specific language choices is like putting on a mask. It helps you blend in with the crowd, and it makes you appear in a way that maybe you didn't appear originally, but it's how you want to appear now. The language choices that we make can either be conscious or subconscious, and most of our subconscious language choices are based upon where we grew up and the community we grew up in. And this mainly happens during our adolescent and teenage years. So what happens when we reach adulthood? Do our language choices not matter anymore? Are we set in stone? Absolutely not. William Labov, the founder of variationist sociolinguistics, did a research program on Martha's Vineyard Island. And what he did was he focused on how the islanders pronounced the specific vowels ow as in house and I as in mice. And what he found was that based upon how specific people pronounced these vowels, he could make judgments on who they were. So whether they were long-term islanders, whether they were there year-round, whether they were there just in the summer, whether they were in the fisherman industry or the tourism industry, whether they liked tourists, what age, what ethnicity, all these things he could infer based purely upon the pronunciation of these vowels. But what was really interesting about Labov's study was that he found that these islanders were making the choice to pronounce vowels in a specific way consciously. These were active choices they made in order to present a specific identity and identify themselves as members of specific communities. So what does this mean for those of us not living on Martha's Vineyard? Well, basically, what we can do is we can hijack our own language in order to present the identity that we want. So going back to the job interview at the beginning, you walk into a job interview and you want that interviewer to think you are serious and responsible. One thing that you should do is always pronounce the G at the end of ing words. So instead of saying talkin', you should say talking. Now, pronouncing the G at the end of ing words is sometimes seen as a little bit stiff and a little bit formal, but generally it's associated with people who are serious and responsible. So when you do this, you are signaling to your interviewer's subconscious that you are serious and responsible, and they're more likely to assign those traits to you. And this is going to give you a leg up in interviews and help you stand out. And I mentioned making friends. When you make friends, you want them to think that you're friendly. Well, you can do this, and this is really easy, by mimicking their language. And I'm not talking about mimicking their accent or making fun of their language. You just need to make the same language choices that they do. So if they're using primarily short sentences, you should use primarily short sentences. If they're pronouncing the ah vowel as ah, you should also change the way that you're pronouncing your vowels. And for those of us in Utah Valley, if they're pronouncing mountain as mountain and they're not pronouncing that T, then you shouldn't pronounce that T. By doing this, you're putting on a mask and you're telling them, I am one of you. I'm in your community. I have the same identity as you. And this is going to make them much more likely to like you and to trust you. And it's going to help you form stronger bonds that last longer. So I'm not telling you that you should go back to school and become a linguist or change your major. What I'm saying is that you should be thinking about your language because it matters. Is there someone whose language you're mimicking that is hurting your relationships? Is there someone who you really admire or who you want to form a stronger connection with? Can you mimic their language instead? think about your language choices. Making good choices, making bad choices, it doesn't matter. The choices that we make alter how we are perceived. And by controlling this, we control what people think about us. It might not be a superpower, but I'd say it's better because it's just language. Thank you.